Hello, 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 and welcome to this final boss fight live stream of the Council of Tamrinor. My name's John, and I'm joined by Geoff.
Hello.
And that's where I end the introductions this time. We have lost, we've lost Ben and Sean.
we put them down somewhere and now we can't find them.
I blame the Sainsbury's car park. It's where we always lose people. So, hi to Sean and hi to R Norton42 who are in the chat. Lies, Twitch. You lied to us and Sean. This is the Council of Tamrinor streams. We did do these on Fridays, but to make way for more D&D and role-playing in general, we have moved them to Saturdays.
What you're saying is you swapped the D&D for D&D.
We've swapped the D&D world building for D&D playing, and the D&D world building is now on a different day. This is that day. The dot map is getting very exciting, isn't it? It's looking real nice. Actually, that reminds me, I haven't shared it so that Geoff can see it.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful
on the Discord. So let me do that real fast.
I can use my imagination. This is theatre of the mind. I can use my imagination.
Yeah, you just got to picture it. There you go. That little bingly bongly sound means that Geoff can now see the screen. What we are going to look at tonight is factions, governments, groups of people that the players are likely to interact with, whether positively or negatively. But one thing I want to look at first... is I want to finish up a thing that Sean and I were discussing last time while Tanny was drawing Novally. And one of the things that we sort of spoke through in the very... We had a very chilled stream last time. Both Sean and I were in the midst of having a cold. And mine's still around. Sean is a lot better. I'm still coughing from time to time. It's been about 2 weeks at this point. It's very annoying. One of the things we were discussing were the playable races. And we were talking about how we've got some very nice playable race options, some of which are basically the D&D races. Hello, Tanny. One of which were... A number of which are the D&D standard races with the serial numbers scrubbed off. The names changed to protect the innocent. And some of them are slightly more changed than the standard D&D classes or races. So we've got things like... where we've got things like the human, where they are a human, and human. And the orcs, the halflings, they are all very much your standard D&D race. Like, we aren't changing them just for the sake of changing them. But we do have a couple where we've got the elves with their slightly green skin and their photosynthesis trait, where we are giving a little bit of Tamrinor flavour to them. And one of the ones that we came up and started speaking about in the last stream was the dwarf. And how the dwarf in Tamrinor, we have discussed that the dwarf is made of stone. And whereas in previous sort of D&D canons, they have had the dwarves started off made of stone and then became flesh and blood as their origin for dwarves. In Tamrinor, they haven't gone that step further. They are still hewn from stone and remain stone throughout their lives. And we were suggesting that it would be interesting if they got some abilities to reflect that, compared to what you can see on the screen at the moment, which is just generally the dwarf race from the SRD. So what we were suggesting was looking at the tiefling race. You get some spells as part of an infernal heritage. At first level, as a tiefling, you get a cantrip. When you hit third level, you gain the ability to cast a second level spell once a day. And then at fifth level, you get technically, you get a first level spell that you can cast as a second level spell once a long rest. And then at fifth level, you gain a second level spell that you can cast once per long rest as a part of your standard suite of abilities as a tiefling. And so we thought it would be interesting if we took sort of the earth and stone based look at that as an option set. So there were two things that we needed to have a look at. One of them that we hadn't decided on fully yet is what to remove from this set of abilities that you get to balance the fact that you gain these spells. And looking at it, my thought is we take away the dwarven resilience and combat training, and we add this suite of spells. What do you think to that, Geoff?
Obviously I wasn't here for the last one, so I haven't got a lot of context for this, but you're basically turning the dwarf into a walking statue.
We have discussed in the previous sessions that the dwarves are made of stone, they are carved, they are living stone.
But there's already a lot of things around stone and stone-based things in the SRD which give quite a lot of benefits just by dint of being made of stone.
Yes.
I just looked up the spell called Stone Skin. Because this is when you said about dwarves being made of living stone, this is my first thought. Stone Skin. It's a level 4 spell. Until the spell ends, the target is resistant to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage.
Now we're not thinking of giving them that. So let me go through the list of the spells that I think the dwarves should get as a part of this. I don't know what we're calling it yet. Stone Legacy or something along those lines. So at first level, a dwarf gets the Mold Earth ability. They can cast the Mold Earth cantrip, which basically allows them to target a 5-foot cube of earth. If it's loose earth, they can excavate it, move it along the ground, deposit it up to 5 feet away. Doesn't have the force to cause damage, but you basically just instantly dig a 5-foot hole. You can cause shapes, colours, or both to appear in dirt or stone, spelling out words, creating images, or shaping patterns. Or you can cause a 5-foot square of earth to become difficult terrain. Or, if it is difficult terrain, you cause it to become normal terrain. So I think that's sort of the cantrip level earthy, dwarfy, stony thing. At 3rd level, you get the ability to cast Earth Tremor at 2nd level. This is a 10-foot area around you becomes difficult terrain, and each creature that fails a saving throw takes 2d6 bludgeoning damage and becomes knocked prone.
I think we need a defensive. We need a protective spell in there to reflect the fact that they are basically made of stone. We need something defensive or protective. And Tanny's actually done a good one in the chat.
Blade Ward. Is Blade Ward a cantrip?
Cantrip. It's a cantrip. Yep.
I mean, I'd be tempted to give them Blade Ward instead of Mold Earth, but I don't remember. Is Blade Ward actually any good?
Until the end of your next turn, you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks.
I mean, it's not bad. It does sort of give you a minor stone skin effect.
The other one I was thinking of was bark skin, not stone skin, but bark skin for an AC increase. But I do like the idea of Blade Ward for this.
Let me just look up bark skin real quick.
How does their stone flesh heal? We'll come on to that in a moment, I think.
I mean, I'm thinking normally, like, we're not giving a penalty for you playing this race in much the same way as you don't get a penalty for being a Warforged and it saying, like, you need to heal yourself in some special way.
So I remember, does mending work on Warforged?
Mechanically, no.
Oh, that was a thing at one point, but I could be wrong.
It's possible that in earlier editions of D&D it might have been that, because they were constructs. In this 5th edition of D&D, they don't count as constructs. They are humanoid. Because they have done a lot to make sure that player characters are always just human. Like humanoid. Not any other... Most of the time, not any other weird combinations with the standard D&D races. Okay, so looking at this, I'm gonna change up what I was thinking. Oh, by the way, okay. We're going to change up the list of spells from what I've suggested so far. I want to keep the 5th level spell that you get, and we'll come to that because I've not said that yet this stream.
No, you haven't. I just thinking to myself, what have you said that yet? And you haven't said that yet, so okay.
So At first level, the dwarf gets Blade Ward.
That makes good sense. That was a good suggestion from Channing.
I think possibly we go with the other bit of their suggestion, which is they get to cast it as a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's possibly something we need to, like, this particular change and some of the other changes that we're doing, they need to be balance tested.
Okay. So, hear me out. Blade Ward, bonus action, once per short rest.
Yes. Yeah, that's a solid balancing thing. I think, as I've said, there's a number of these changes that we're doing to some of the races, such as the elves' photosynthesis, that we are going to need to playtest and balance a little bit before we fully settle on them, to make sure that we're not doing something. Because, spoilers, crew at home, we aren't gameplay gurus. We don't have hundreds of hours of experience in this. We're doing what feels right. And that might not work right, and these things that we're doing might change as we go forward. So as a dwarf, right, let's start by making some changes to this. I want to get rid of dwarven combat training and dwarven resilience. So dwarves on Tamrinor are not poison resistant, and they don't have any special weapons training outside of what their class gives them.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously they still have whatever the hell you get for whatever class you are, but suddenly you don't have a wizard who knows how to use a battle axe just because you're a dwarf. And obviously a dwarven wizard probably is never going to pick up a battle axe anyway, despite being proficient with it. So I think you're not really losing an awful lot by not having that proficiency. So at first level, as a Tamrinor dwarf, you gain Blade Ward that you can cast once per short rest as a bonus action. At third, I tried to move the mouse that was in the stream window and click on a thing that's not in the stream window, and that doesn't work. At third level, as a Tamrinor dwarf, you gain the ability to cast Bark Skin once per long rest.
That makes sense.
How do we feel about dropping the concentration but only being able to target yourself?
Barkskin is concentration?
So Barkskin is a concentration spell, but it allows you to target a willing creature.
Absolutely, it should be no concentration, it should be stealth. It should essentially become like mage armor.
Yeah. But obviously keeps the 1 hour limit, so you're not putting it on at the start of the day every day for free.
Yeah.
But you effectively get 1 hour of time in a dungeon, maybe 2 encounters, maybe 3 if you time it well, where you have your Uber AC, and then your AC maybe drops a point or 2. Or you already have better AC and you don't need it.
Yes.
And we'll come up with a different name than Bark Skin because it's not bark.
Bark means trees. Bark means trees.
Yeah. Obviously, we can't call it Stone Skin. That's already taken. At 5th level, I think it's 5th level for the two. Yeah, 5th level. You gain Meld into Stone.
Oh,
with
okay.
the
Yep.
caveat it lasts an hour. So Meld into Stone normally is a 3rd level spell that lasts 8 hours and allows you to walk into stone and merge with it, as long as it's able to, as long as it's large enough to contain your body. You step inside the stone, you can step out of anywhere on the stone. You're invisible effectively because you're in stone. You
Can I
you
ask a
can,
question?
yes.
Why would you use this? What situation would you use this in?
It allows you to walk through walls. It allows you to hide and make stealth checks.
I've got here. You use your movement to leave the stone where you entered it. So you can't walk through with this. You stay in the stone, and you come out where you entered the stone.
I've used this wrong in the past with someone. Someone got away with something they weren't meant to. It allows you to hide, is the primary thing of it.
This is what I'm thinking of. The other option, similar to that, is tree stride. Subtly tweaked.
Yeah.
You enter one tree and then you come out of another tree. Obviously not trees, but
Stone.
that would give you that would give you for stone. I like you enter like a mountain and you come out the other side of the mountain.
The only... I mean, the only problem I have with that is that Tree Stride is a 5th level spell, and we are supposed to be looking for a 2nd level.
I'm with you.
Because as a tiefling, you gain darkness, which is a 2nd level spell. Don't need to tell you what it does. It makes darkness.
Oh, I know what it does. I talked to some of my players. The value of reading your character sheet the other day. I was playing a ghost, and one of my players was a tiefling monk, and they failed the possession roll. So we know from experience what happens when a character gets possessed.
Yeah.
So it was great. Terms like, okay, so I use Hellish Rebuke. I forgot I had Hellish Rebuke. I cast Darkness. I have Darkness.
I thought you were going to say that they you cast the darkness and they tried to say, I've got dark vision.
No. No, this is like they forgot they had the darkness spell.
here's a list of your abilities.
And how to use them.
And here's how best to kill all your friends with the things you can do.
Yep.
Right, I'm going to note down, we're going to call this Stone Legacy.
Oh, I like that.
Ah, yes, Shan suggests granite skin for the bark skin replacement.
That's good. That's very good.
So, at 1st level, you can cast Blade Ward as a I can type bonus action once per short rest.
Do you want the actual text that they use? The actual sort of text that they use for that? Or do not worry about that at the moment?
Not too worried about that at the moment.
Okay.
So it's 3rd level, you can cast Granite Skin, Bark Skin Tweaked, once per long rest.
And it lasts for 1 hour.
This spell drops the concentration requirement, but can only target self. At 5th level, you gain something. So yes, it would mean, R. Norton, that the dwarves are inherently magic along the lines of the elves and the tiefling. And I feel Mason Vein does need to be a name, but I'm not sure of what yet, Sian. I agree, it's a good sounding name. We just don't have a dwarf that it belongs to just yet. Alright, I'm going to just double check, because I was looking at spells. Using D&D Beyond, not our sponsor. I was looking at spells of 1st and 2nd level. So I'm going to use that filter again. And we're going to see if there's anything in the... while I look at this, Geoff, you take that question from the audience.
So, is their rock existence magical? It's not just the way they're evolved. John, over to you.
It's difficult to say because
it comes down like where do they come from? Yeah, that's it. How do the beings come into being? Because that addresses that question.
They are
I think they have to be
carved.
But they have to be magical. If they're carved,
So they
have
are
to be
magical. What is... No. They do have parents. Because we have said that they are digging out the stone, specifically looking for the magical stone that can be carved into new dwarves, and all of this pesky minerals and metals get in the way.
It's kind of a different family structure, though, isn't it?
I assume it would be a different family structure to, like, it's possibly not going to be two parents and I mean, arguably it could be that there's one parent per household.
Random Sean is saying the people who do the carving could be vein masons, so there could be like a class of these people whose job it is to carve out the new dwarves. Would they have the concept of family though in that sense? Again, that's that question, isn't it?
This was the one that we were discussing last time. Maximilian's Earthen Grasp. So, 2nd level spell, concentration for 1 minute. You choose a 5-foot square, unoccupied space on the ground you can see within range. A medium-sized hand appears from the compacted soil, rises there and reaches for one creature you can see within 5 feet of it. The target must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, they take 2d6 bludgeoning and is restrained for the minute. As your action, you can cause the hand to crush a restrained target who must make a strength saving throw or take the damage again. So what do we think to Maximilian's Earthen Grasp?
Could be like you're summoning the rock itself to come to your aid in that case, aren't you?
Yeah.
It could work, yeah.
You gain the ability to cast Maximilian's... That's not enough letters. Maximilian's Earthen Grasp.
It's got so much. John's made some things
That's
in the
too
chat
many
about
letters.
saying dwarves are more clan-based rather than family-based, and they can be based on different rock types found around the world.
I think that's a good shout. Like, them being clan-based is very dwarven already. Like,
but the idea of different clans being made out of different rocks, what that immediately reminds me of. You should get this.
I mean, I'm feeling trolls from Discworld, possibly.
Discworld trolls, yep.
Are we going to have the conversation of the supercooling your dwarf to get better processing power?
I was thinking more of the troll who came into being in Angwarpork, so his stone is basically bricks, and they call him Brick because he's got brick. Which is an interesting question. What happens if you have these guys in the cities? Do they take on, like, city blocks as their as the rock they're carved from? do they look like that?
This is things we can discuss at later points. I mean, I think, yeah, we aren't necessarily at this point going to answer where did the race come from in the beginning. Hi,
So
my name is Slab.
That made me. Oh no, that made me laugh. Slab is the troll drug in Discworld.
Hi, my name is Slab. Lightning hit my slab, and now I'm me.
And now I'm Slab.
Slab is now me. And I am now Slab. Right. Let us now discuss some factions.
Yeah.
Now, you were suggesting, Geoff, that we want to... you want to have a slightly more in-depth faction-based interaction system within Tamrinor.
Just step back a moment. So my original question was, when I was discussing this with John, about factions, organisations and local governments, and so far we have a monarch who rules over the human empire, but the monarch who rules over the human empire isn't necessarily going to be the one who puts the quest on the quest boards.
This is true.
Which is where the idea of factions came from. It starts off as who is giving the adventurers the quests that they carry out. So who are they working for? But then taking a leaf out of Elite Dangerous and other similar games, who are you working against? Could you have different factions working against each other? So if you have a faction of, say, a state local government council faction and a more thievy, criminally underworld faction, doing quests for one party is going to put you at odds with the quest with the other party. So I thought about, does this mean we have a reputation system where doing quests for one faction raises your reputation with one faction, but then lowers your reputation with other factions and potentially blocks off their quests until you do something for them?
It's an interesting system. I'm not going to say it's definitely going to be a thing that we look at in every game.
So Can I say like the Zentarum and the Lord's Alliances? Yes, they're factions that the characters are associated with them, but there's no real like interplay between them. With the idea that they are just like
Yeah,
the people
they're
you
just
work,
there.
the people you work for, the people who give you the gold when you finish a quest. Yeah.
And I think part of that is they leave that up to the DM to decide. Does the Zentarum not want to work with you because you've been working with the Lord's Alliance or the Harpers? Or how do they know if you are?
Yeah.
And obviously that's then up to the players or up to the DMs to be like, well, okay, so this group of the Zentarum know because you turned against some of their members and you turned them in, so they're going to get pissy at you, but that's not necessarily going to spread to the entire... With the way the Zentarum work in their cells, it's not necessarily going to spread to the entire faction. Which obviously we might have some factions that work like that in this, where they are localized groups that sort of have one banner group name, but are not in and of themselves, they're franchise holders, not company owners, to put it another way. Sort of guilds, I guess, is one idea of what some of this is what we're talking about.
That's another side of it. Yeah. Or it could be like,
could have some
help me out,
guilds.
help me out with some city names. Like if you're in the capital city, I can't remember the names. You have to help me out with this.
Capital city of... I remember it too. Lawfell.
If you're in Lawfell doing things like bodyguarding tax officials or something like that, the pirates who are out in the Havens thingy city, can't remember
Vectis Haven or
Vectis Haven. The pirates of Vectis Haven aren't going to take kindly to you rolling up in their city asking to do their stuff because they know you're more like you've helped the government to do their things. So there's already like that tension between them.
Staros is the pirate city, by the way. Staros.
Any convenient port of scum and villainy.
Yes. They are very much a port of scum and villainy because they're literally the pirate ships docked on up the side of cliffs.
Like if you go to Staros looking for work, they'll be very much less inclined to give it to you because they know you do government-based work, which it would be directly opposed to what they do. That sort of.
So, in terms of factions that we've already named, we have a few. The necessity to hire adventurers suggests a very weak or limited government instead of having sufficient soldiers, police. That's probably why one, it depends, because obviously it could be that we have the police, we have the soldiers to deal with the normal threats, but there's a fucking dragon over there and fuck that noise.
Also, it could just depend on where you are. Like Lawfell is obviously going to have a very organized, very numerous guard, but some city out near the coast or far-flung city is probably just going to have like one or two at top, so they need to supplement wherever they can. It could just be where you are, what your town is.
And also, sort of, I guess by the time you get to like 10th level adventurers, you are able to fight off a very heavy guard single-handedly. Like, you are dealing with threats at 7th, 8th, 9th level that is going to bankrupt cities to have to deal with. So if they can get a group of adventurers of 7th level to be like, hey, rather than us sending our entire police force over there and half of them die, could you possibly go deal with that so that we can stay here and keep all the people safe?
We saw what happens when you send guards on an adventure in one of the recent Tyranny episodes, didn't we?
Yeah, they One of
They
them's
die
coming
very quickly.
home.
Well, no, the
Literally,
one who was an actual
the
no,
one that
who
was an actual player
generated
character.
who was actual generated characters coming home. The others who just used the guard stat block because I thought it would be funny aren't.
One of the definitions of power and authority is you have a monopoly on force, and not have it would mean a lot. Obviously, this is an aspect of many D&D worlds. I mean, we're not saying that the people in charge of these, in charge of the government, we don't know the current king's name. Or technically, I suppose another side of that is we don't know 100% at the moment if it is still a monarchy or if they have formed some other form of governance. We know that a few hundred years ago there was a monarch by the name of King Casimir who was a member of one of the races who formed the Alliance of Casimir, which is one of the factions we're going to discuss.
Oh, I just had a great idea for that, but this is probably not the time.
Oh dear. Let's quickly look at the names of some of the factions we already have. One of the factions that I've already... Part of that also is we need to dig through some of the notes that we have to find the faction names in other places, because I haven't necessarily generated the pages for all of these factions yet. We have the Roots. And the Roots is a secretive group that exists with members of both the Avians and the Elves who have realised that the two races, while are often opposed to each other in less than friendly competition, the group of the Roots have realised there is more to be won by being allies than enemies.
Okay.
The sort
What's their objective? What's their...
The inspiration of this group was very much the... Have you, Geoff, watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No.
Chat. Show of hands. How many people in chat have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? Chat delay is a great thing for this. Okay, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf once said. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, there are the 4 nations of the world that are grouped by the different element that their magical abilities allow them to mutate, transmute, or bend. Earth, air, fire, and water. Outside of this group, and the 4 nations don't really work together that often because fire and water don't get along. Earth and air don't really see eye to eye. There is one person who, in every generation, sort of like the Slayer, there is an avatar who can control all 4 of the elements, and who has to, at the start of their life, make a pilgrimage around and gain the ability to control the elements. It is revealed towards the middle of the series that there is also a secretive organization of people who are from the various nations who see that there is a benefit to be had from unity between them more than infighting and the standard not getting along that the nations do. In the show, they sort of reveal themselves with a game piece from sort of a board game along the lines of Mahjong or chess or Go, where they are associated with a Paicho piece. And basically, I think this was what we had largely for this secretive group, was that they are a group of people from both the Avians and the Elves who can see that there is more to be gained by working together than by infighting about which of their particular races is the best. I will now take any questions, because I feel that I've spoken for a little while at this point.
So, first question that springs to mind: what's their objective? What do they want to accomplish?
I feel that they are very much the... they're sort of along the lines of the Harpers in my vague headspace at the moment, of they're working behind the scenes, gathering knowledge for peace.
Actually, I'm going to take a leaf out of Matt Mercer's guide for quickly making NPCs here. So,
Okay.
the two questions are: what do they want, and what do they fear?
Fear would be war. I mean, I suppose the obvious what do they want is peace, but that seems a little bit nebulous. Progress? They want progress. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. That's a reference, Tanny, that Geoff won't understand. I mean, I suppose, yeah, Richard brings up the fine point. Not just war, but a collapse of civilization.
To be a bit more specific with that, it'll be the end of their two races.
Yes.
That's what they would fear. They would fear the complete annihilation of both their races.
So shall I note these things that we've just said?
Yes.
Are we going to note these things for all of these people? One and fear.
It's a good starting. It's a good starting point.
Let me. No. You want two of them, don't you, to be bold? Yes. Nope. Two of them at the beginning will make it bold. So, want. Tamrinor is a country. So, all of this stuff is happening in the same country.
So
or continent, I guess.
Yeah. They want peace, or at the very least, good relations between the two races.
Okay, I want you to be bold, but I want you to not be bold. There we go. I worked it out. Peace.
Isn't that the way Discord does it?
It's the way a lot of things. Between the two races. Fear. The collapse of civilization and war that leads to the destruction.
Would they care about human civilization? That's the question I was thinking. Would they care particularly about human civilization if the humans aren't part of it?
It wouldn't be their primary concern. Like, I don't think it would be like #1 slot, but also if the humans go to war, there are an awful lot of them, and so it's sort of like secondary role.
Okay.
Let's.
The other question would, and then the other two questions which we can't do at the moment, but they'll come out: allies and opponents.
I'll note them, but obviously, as you say. Well, actually, one that we can say for this would be the... What is the name of the group? It's the Raptors. So opponents for them would definitely be the Raptors, who are sort of the antagonistic avian race.
Yeah, that would make
evil
sense, yeah.
offshoot.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because you've got like now two factions within the same race, opposed to each other, but they're in the two factions in the same race that are directly opposed to each other.
But there's some antagonism between races elements within that one nation. People don't see themselves as Tamrinorian, but rather avians, elves, etc. Yes.
And there's always going to be antagonism between people between people in the same nation. I mean, look at us. Look at Britain.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it. The Alliance of Casimir, which I'm gonna make sure that we get this one up next on our list of factions. The Alliance of Casimir started by King Casimir IV. Is an alliance of... How did I phrase it at one point? It's in Lawfell. The noble humanoid races. The noble humanoid races.
I think when you come down to Richard's asked the question, that's what the question is about, thinking like, what is a person's ultimate loyalty? That's coming down to a personal level, which is probably a bit beyond what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we're talking broad brushstrokes at the moment. Led from Lawfell.
It is great watching the diagram update as you're typing these things in.
Led from Lawfell, major government level organization. Runs the police and the armies, as well as Fort Casimir and Fort Vigil. And
so this is essentially the national government, the national army.
The national...
The federal government.
The government, yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, I might have answers.
Who is in charge? I know we haven't done it for the other one, but who is in charge of the national government?
That is a fabulous question. And I don't feel that the two of us should make that decision
because, as I say, I did have an idea when you talked about, like, we don't know who the king is. I did have an idea.
Okay.
I wonder if this might be the appropriate point to broach that idea. There is no king. The king is just a story told to the masses to keep them in line.
Okay.
There was a king, but there is no longer a king. If you want the analogy, it's the emperor in 40k.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. Hopefully
now,
a
but...
little bit friendlier than the Emperor in 40k. Because...
but it's that idea that, the king, everybody knows that there's a king, but the truth is there actually is no king, because if people found out, it would cause problems. So there's the government who rules
everybody
in the name
accepts
of the king.
it.
Yeah.
I think the one big choice we've got to make at some point is either there is still a king or there is still a monarch, be that king or queen, whoever the so many great-granddaughter of Casimir.
Mm-hmm.
Or at some point between Casimir being the king... Actually, you know what? I think talking about this, I've already made a decision, and we'll run it past the other two of the council, but we'll, for the moment, throw it in the list of things. We've already stated that nobody knows the race of King Casimir.
Mm-hmm.
That he adopted at some point a full helmet and suit of armor which obscured who he had been. That he had gone out on adventures as a young king or a young prince, and met and fell in love and established the alliance, and as part of that saw the benefit of being a symbol. Part of that falls down if we still have a king or queen, because you presumably then have a line of ancestors back up to Casimir, wherein you would then know what the race is of your current monarch.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, as Richard says, it could be an elected monarch. Or somebody has come in and sort of overthrown King Casimir, in which case, why is the alliance of Casimir still a thing? That then doesn't make sense. So we can't have a bloodline monarch in the current setting, because if we have a bloodline monarch, we have a bloodline going back to Casimir, and everybody would know the ancestry of that character.
Yeah.
So either we have a ruling council wherein King Casimir or somebody very soon after him abdicated the throne and left it to a currently unnamed Council of Lawfell, or possibly what is now the Council of Lawfell. Or, as Richard suggests, they now have an elected monarch, which could be along the lines of they all vote for who's in charge, or whosoever can draw the sword from the stone, they be worthy to rule.
Essentially, all you want is just someone to fit in the armor. That's what you really want, isn't it?
I mean, my thought is they have an elected council.
Mm-hmm.
We have we have a government level council with one member of each race elected to governmental positions, or members of all of the races, but there are like the 5 heads of state that are on the Council of Lawfell, or the Council of Tamrinor. I mean, hell, we called the damn stream it. Do we put the Council of Tamrinor in the world? I realise I said that after I... Can I cheat the system with paper and pencil and paper? Whoever can draw Casimir's sword. We didn't meet... Oh, we said the words. I guess you're the king now. So I'm going to say leaders. Are we calling it... Geoff, are we calling it the council?
Council of Tamrinor is a bit too on the nose, I think, for this. Call it the Council of Casimir. Is that a good one?
Elected members of the noble humanoid races. Do they have a figurehead in the whosoever wears the armor is the Casimir?
I think that's probably a question we need to wait for the others to return on.
I'm going to note it down.
Yeah.
They might have a figurehead. Casimir, who wears the magical armor and or wields the mighty sword. Right, let me go back to the roots, and I'm going to grab this list of questions. I'm going to copy it in, and then I'm going to leak the answers we gave there out, and then I'm going to copy it without those answers in. Oh god, now we need to come up with answers to them.
Cool. Want. That's an easy one. Peace in all the land. Preferably under their rule.
Under their rule. To stay in charge. They aren't evil. I feel it's important that we mention that bit.
They totally are evil. They totally are evil, though. They totally are evil.
They aren't evil. Government doesn't necessarily mean bad. Fear.
Anarchy.
Shall I list the races
Just say all.
as the
you can say-
allies?
Yeah.
Because because the Antari touched are too uncommon to have membership. So we've got the Avians, the dwarves,
Waps.
the elves. You look a bit elvish to me. The Gnomes. Mess that run up.
Economies.
Do the halflings? Sean says, if they keep telling us they aren't evil, it might raise questions.
Good point.
I don't think the halflings come out of their civilization enough to take part in the council.
They just sit in their homes and wait for passing wizards with magic rings to turn up.
Yeah. As all good halflings should. So, avians, dwarves, elves, gnomes, and humans are the members of the race.
Yeah.
Members of the alliance.
Milo says rude.
Milo was the wizard. Did he show up with his own magic item? Be like, Milo, we have to go on an adventure. You're looking in a mirror, Milo. Because then again, the tieflings aren't common enough to be on the alliance. The Lesata aren't, the orcs aren't, the raptors aren't, the Drakavir definitely aren't. Yeah, why wait for the wizard to come round for you when you can just be the wizard yourself? What about the wild ones?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Would they potentially have, if not been in the alliance at the founding of it, been added to it after Lortak?
Yes, I want to say yes. It's a bit overdone to have them be like the odd one out, to be like the enemy race. So yes, but memories run deep. There is like some tension between them and some of the other races.
So a recent addition, the newest member. If your race isn't on it, are your interests represented? Most of the races that aren't on it wouldn't have that much interest in it. Like the Antari touched and the tieflings.
Interesting question. Or could they have delegated their interest to other races to represent them?
I feel that that's the sort of thing, is like you just have to find probably the human counselor and petition them. I think that's only going to be a thing that affects the Antari touched and the tieflings. It might affect the halflings, but the orcs, the Lesata, the Drakavir, they live in the wild for the most part. Yeah, I think it's possibly that maybe, yeah, it's a nominated representative that is like, this council session you represent your race and the others. Maybe. Okay, let's... I'm going to go down the list of races and see if I've mentioned any secretive organizations in any other races. We've also mentioned gnomes don't breed. Okay. We have apparently got a thing that should be noted of potentially another race of the undead with souls still attached.
Interesting.
Which came up when we were discussing the various heroes.
That raises a lot of other questions, actually, to be honest.
Going down the list some more. Ah, yes, the Cliffsiders. Where is this note? NPCs groups? I had a groups folder? I did have a groups folder. Literally for this one thing, so let's get it out of there and put it in the right place. So the Cliffsiders were a group that oppose the Alliance of Casimir.
Okay.
And stood alongside Queen Kaliska. Nearly caused instability that tore apart, or would have torn apart, the Alliance of Casimir before it got started. Anarchist group that nearly destroyed the Alliance Casimir before it started, sided with Queen Kaliska and a unified force of raptors. And then so I'm going to put down opponents is Alliance.
Allies is raptors.
Their opponents is the Cliffsiders. And I'll...
Question: If the cliffsiders are allied with the raptors, does that also put the cliffsiders against the roots?
I
Is it a
don't
bit more murky than
think
that?
so. I think it's a bit murkier than that.
Yeah.
That's sort of the enemy of my enemy sort of situation.
Yeah.
I believe we've mentioned in this that somewhere we mentioned the cliffsiders are banished from Tamrinor. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't... they don't exist. Allies. Raptors. They were very much like a rebel alliance.
Mm.
Except rebelling against the good guys, not the bad guys. I know I keep saying things that make it sound like the Alliance are bad, but they really aren't. They are the good guys. They do want the best for everybody. I don't know what to put for wants and fears of a group of anarchists that were banished a few hundred years ago.
We don't have to fill it out now. We can save that one.
I mean, I guess one of their wants is less government.
We could make it positive. We could say freedom. That's what I was about to say.
Less government and more freedom. Maelstrom to the east, corrupted lands. Now just trying to find... I'm sure we've mentioned another... at least one more faction somewhere in our notes. I can't remember why we have the note under the Honeywell, cozy farmland centric, the halflings home. Why did we have the note reverse Gandalf?
Gandalf. I don't know, but it's hilarious.
Iron Wings resolve, Lawfell. Ah, there's a note to add to the roots. There is a pair of trees at the heart or near the centre of Lawfell, one crafted by the Avians, the other by the Elves.
Ah, yes.
They have been seen growing together into each other. Originally formed as competing, this led to the foundation of the roots.
Have a look. Nearly. Oh, okay, so they're going into each other. Okay, yeah. I like that image, yeah.
Because we said that both the elves and the avians have this sort of tree-shaping magic. Near the heart of Lawfell are a pair of trees, one formed by the avians and the other by the elves, which have been seen growing into each other. Originally started as a competition, this led to the formation of this group. Lawfell Lycos is an island. Oh, we added a new town, Geoff. We've not added it to the map yet. But one of the things that we did last time was we added another town called Rock Bottom.
Is this purely for the "we've reached rock bottom" gag?
Probably at some point that's going to come up. We wanted. I wanted to do a thing from one of the books. Tanny and Sean wanted us to do some world building while Tanny drew their picture of Novalee. And so we have added Rock Bottom, which is a medium-sized town with a distinct border. It has only been around for a few hundred years and has always been more or less the same.
What sort of town is it? Is it a rich town, a poor town,
It's a fading town in terms of wealth. It was once home to a vibrant industry, but that has dramatically changed or waned away.
Because you have to work in the joke line. Once you've reached rock bottom, you can't go any lower. That has to be part of it. Part of the legend, part of the lore. That has to be part of it.
We have that. The town has 2 assets. According to our dice rolling, they had 2 assets: a vibrant art scene and access to magical resources, which we said was what their original wealth and prosperity of Rock Bottom was, because of this magical resource that could be found there. And also that it was built above and around an ancient metropolis, and that some form of historical disaster had necessitated unique developments in said town. A landmark that stands out in the town is the Rock Bottom School of Statue Making. A modern school, detailed and iconic. The buildings are stone with thatched straw roofs, and the school is inspiring. And notable town resident is Agatha Marashire, who is an ordinary citizen. She is influential but stubborn. This person will be helpful towards the player characters should they meet her. They have valuable information and need something important from the player characters. She is a shopkeeper and doesn't suffer fools lightly. She is 92 and frequently reminds people of this fact. And the town also has an annual recurring contest that might be a reason that the player characters are in Rock Bottom. The contest is driven by the remarkable and working classes, but will also impact the marginalised of the town. Largely because they will shove all of the homeless people out of the town to make it look better when people come to see the town. The whole city will be drawn into the event, and the town will look and feel different. And unfortunately, this particular event that the player characters will be around to see will cause a crisis, which the player characters might have to intervene in. So that's rock bottom. It's not been placed on the map as of yet. But those are some new things that we've added. Sanctuary Springs, Sirens Harbour, Staros. Stone's Grave is the Dwarven Kingdom, Sunspire. The Emberwolf Archives, is that a faction?
No, it's a place. The Archivists is a faction.
Torgalad, Temple, Vectus Haven, Cosimir, Nor, Lari Krim, Emberwolf. Yes, the Vorthir is the glowing ball that reportedly returns people to life.
Don't know who that guy is.
Trying to see. I am certain we had another faction in one of these. We might have to come back to the Emberwolf Archivists. Was it listed under... Oh, was it under Beffin? Yes, there we go. So...
The Hunger of Knowledge.
The Hunger of Knowledge.
Oh yes, here we go.
So the Hunger of Knowledge goes into the factions list. Is a cult of raptors who oppose the worship of Beffin and seek... Do they seek knowledge for themselves? Or do they seek to wipe it out?
I'm leaning towards wipe it out.
And seek to wipe... Not whip. Wipe out knowledge. They seek to whip out knowledge. Ha-ha! Knowledge.
Ha-ha! Knowledge.
So, want, fear, allies, opponents. I feel opponents are going to be the Emberwolf Archives.
That's a given.
And the Avians in general. Want to wipe out knowledge. Fears knowledge. Do they just not like school? Is that's the problem?
It's more like they want to return civilization to a darker age.
To return civilization to civilization. I can honestly spell some words. To a less civilized. Better at typing when I'm not being watched doing it. What are their fears, Geoff?
They fear progress, advancement.
Excellent. Anything else we want to add to them for the moment?
Allies is a difficult one because the knee-jerk reaction is to say, "Oh, the aliens, the raptors, are their allies," but maybe not in this case. It'd be good to have a enemy mind situation with aliens in this for this one.
I feel that they are a cult of raptors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all raptors support the cult.
Yeah.
Leave
the allies out for a moment. So maybe that'll come up organically.
So, Ember Wolf Archivists. Can you remember, did we give Eric the Cleric a special title that was like special title for his pilgrimages?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Seeker, wouldn't he?
Group of seekers. Sounds right. So, the Emberwolf Archivists, a group of seekers and knowledge hunters, primarily of the avians.
Be right back.
Boink. To find knowledge and to keep it out of the hands of their enemies. Raptors and the hunger knowledge fear anarchy ignorance. They get along with the Alliance. So, anything you want to ask about any of these groups, chat, while we're waiting for Geoff to get back? Anything you want to ask in general, chat? Brain and questions aren't friend right now, can't Brain. I hope Brain starts working again soon, Sean. Tanny's too full to think. Oh, wunderbar. I can see Geoff returning through the strange alien entity in his background, so we should be okay.
Hello.
Hello. I was just trying to see about taking questions from the audience, but Sean's brain and questions aren't friends right now, and Tanny is too full to think right now. Can we see the factions on a map? You can see the factions on the dotty grid, but
Factions on a map is a difficult one because some factions we haven't done a load of factions yet, but some factions may be localized to a particular city, others may be spread all over the country.
That might be a thing that we have to look at in the future.
We will do, yeah.
Where
like,
are these people?
Located. The only one we know where the faction is located is the Alliance of Casimir, because that's centered on Lawfell and covers the entire country.
I mean, we also know that the Emberwolf archives are located in Avian hometown.
Yes.
The roots are at least one of their key strongholds, one of their key locations, if not their only like physical location, is going to be in Lawfell. So, I've for the Emberwolf archivists, I've put down that they are a group of seekers and knowledge hunters, primarily of the Avians. They want to find knowledge and keep it out of the hands of their enemies. Their fears are anarchy and ignorance. They are allied with the Alliance, and their opponents are the Raptors and the Hunger of Knowledge. Which I suppose actually also means the Alliance should have the allies of the Emberwolf archives. Or archivists.
That makes sense.
You know, if you're friends with me, I'm friends with you, etc.
If I knew that simpler.
Yeah. Not always thing, but one I have noticed that I think might need a faction name. I was just sort of clicking through some of these while I was discussing it with taking some questions and thinking about the things that we've got. We've got a note here that there are people who live on Lycos. Lycos being an island in the middle of the ocean to the west of the main continent. And from the top, looking down on the island, you would be forgiven for missing the fact that there were people that were settled on it, because they sort of live on the crevices along the cliff faces. Now, either the people that live on Lycos are the Cliffsiders, or the descendants thereof, and some of them might still be Cliffsiders, and some of them just might live there for the sake of convenience. Or this is another different faction. What do you think? And we literally do have a faction that we titled the Cliffsiders, who have been banished from Tamrinor.
That makes sense, actually. That would make sense, because...
And so, putting them on Lycos, a wind-blasted rock of an island that's just off the coast, does seem a fitting punishment. Shall I put that they are descendants of the original Cliffsiders, or that they are still just the Cliffsider faction?
They still call themselves Cliffsiders, definitely, I would say. They're like holding fast to like the insult that was done to their forebears.
The Cliffsiders have harnessed the power of this inhospitable island to make their lives easier, using both the strong tidal flow and the winds above to power machinery, which allows for agriculture in the surrounding area. Airships allow for easy transport to this island, but there is a port that allows access to the island, although it is treacherous to make the crossing by sea. So on the Cliffsiders, they've been banished from Tamrinor and now live on the wind-blasted rock of an island called Lycos. Anything else we want to add to this stuff that we're discussing tonight, Geoff?
There's a lot more we can talk about, and I'm looking forward to getting into some of the nitty-gritty, especially when we talk about opposition, who's opposed to each other, and where they are. But I think we made a good. I think we made a good start tonight.
I mean, looking at
anything, are there any other factions that we can get stuck into right now?
I can't think of any other factions that we have currently named.
I think we would also, as part of this, as part of factions under the umbrella of factions, probably look at councils, like local authority organisations, because they count as factions as well. Like towns would probably count as their own faction. Cults is a good faction as well, but yeah, towns would definitely be. A town would be its own faction by definition, surely.
I mean, it makes sense that they would, yeah, very much have a sort of the town will have a ruling body, a local government. So I suppose, yeah, like, obviously not Eram the Desert, but Honeywell will have its own faction. Lawfell doesn't. Lycos doesn't.
I mean, desert also implies like wandering nomads.
So, I mean, like, I'm not saying there aren't factions in the desert, but the desert itself doesn't have a ruling body or local organized government of a desert. I mean, obviously, there might be something that at Sanctuary Springs that is a ruling body of Sanctuary Springs itself, whether that's sort of a cartel-based thing of criminals that keep the peace because the peace is good for business, or something more beneficent that is in charge of the small one piece of civilization within the vast desert to the south of Tamrinor.
Yeah.
I do like that we have listed flighting as one of their potential hobbies of the desert Sanctuary Springs. The competitive insults town. I think I think you're right. This is a good place to finish this particular stream. We've made some decent progress. We've got some ideas for the dwarves. I think actually one thing I am going to note on here, vein masons could be the name of the dwarves that carve new life from the magical stone that is mined. Just make a note of that so that we don't forget that brilliant point of a name. I think it was vein masons, wasn't it? Not mason veins.
Vein mason rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah. And it was Vein Mason. I think that's where we'll call this one to a close. Hopefully next month we'll have the rest of the council back. We have also suggested a couple of... Can we get lightning as a suggested way? Question mark, question mark. First came into existence after lightning struck the magical stone? Question mark, question mark. Hopefully next month we'll have the rest of the council back for the full session. And I think, do we want to tell people what we've noted as the next 2 sessions, Geoff?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Let's tease, shall we?
Tease. Let's tease this.
So next month, January's, December's. I know how months work. We're not in December yet, are we, Geoff?
Not yet. It's coming up fast though.
It is fast approaching. December, we are going to look at the months don't work. Yeah, that's true. We are going to look at resources and commerce a little bit. What each of maybe a little bit about what each of the towns have that the other towns might want, what trading exists between them. We have spoken about potentially getting a guest councillor to join us for that one, but we'll ask if they're interested before we start.
I need to ask that. We'll just yank them in, shall we? Just say, "Oh, you're doing
whatever
this
you're
now."
doing, whatever you're doing that day.
You're not.
You're
whatever
not
you're
anymore.
doing, whatever you're doing, you're not. Yeah.
And then in January, we were saying about getting Tanny back to finish drawing Novally. If they are interested in that one. And then we'll have to work out some more things to discuss after that. Because I haven't decided more things to discuss after that one. I think another thing that Sean and I have discussed that we are going to be looking into doing at some point soon is we've suggested doing some Minecraft builds of
for architecture. Yeah.
of the architecture of the various towns, which will also allow us to have sort of a scale representation for artwork to be done of the various buildings and things. Sort of artwork can be drawn over the top of screenshots of the locations. I'm looking at putting together a mod pack for that, for us to build some interesting things and to have it be easier to build stuff. So that's coming up. I don't know if it's necessarily coming up soon, but stay tuned, I guess. Any factions that we haven't listed out already, we will try to have them listed out at some point soon. I have just noticed, for instance, we literally have a faction here labelled the Dwarven Empire. which feels to me like that is a faction in and of itself. But yes.
I mean, factions is probably a very dynamic thing, very fluid thing anyway. Because new factions can arise overnight, and other factions can disappear overnight.
What I am going to say is the outro stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for spending your Saturday evenings with us doing some world building. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, do hit that follow button. If you haven't done so already, it's a great way for you guys to know when we go live, a completely free way that you can support us on the channel. We also have a YouTube channel that you can go to find replays of our old videos. We have a Discord you can join to chat with us about the games that we're playing, the things that we're doing, ideas for the world building. If you have any ideas, you can throw them in over there, and we have discussed them on the stream before, so don't be surprised if you throw a question in there. You might get an answer on stream next month. We have a website, www.finalbossfight.co.uk, that you can go to find all of our videos, as well as written content, things about the characters that we're playing and the campaigns that are running, and also the ever-growing FBF podcast network that contains all of our D&D adventures, as well as some of Geoff's Call of Cthulhu games are up on the podcast network at the moment. And then we have the following streams coming up. Tomorrow night, Geoff, we're back to do some more Rime of the Frost Maiden. And primarily, you're going to be arriving in East Haven and trying to find out what's happening there, as well as I'm probably sure that Kiri's going to have a thing or two to say about what happened at the end of the last stream, I imagine. On Monday night, Angel is going to be yelling at monsters in Genshin Impact. Ben on the Questgiver channel, I believe, is going to be doing some Stardew Valley, and I'm going to be doing some Marvel Midnight Suns. On Wednesday, Angel is failing at Star Rail. Ben is doing more Stardew Valley, and then I'm saying this wrong because Angel is not doing Genshin or Star Rail. I believe they're doing Half-Life until they finish Half-Life. And I need to show them how to set that up on their schedule. On Wednesday, we are going to be doing FBF Craft V3 on the channel. We might be getting into the position to do a run against the Ender Dragon. That is one of the things that I want to get looking at. On Thursday, Angel is playing some more Half-Life unless they've completed it by that point. And Friday this week sees the second episode of The Golden Tooth, The Shattered Obelisk. The group continues to run through the things they've done in the downtime between the end of the last Golden Tooth adventure and the start of this one, which unfortunately, after this particular episode, we're going on a month-long hiatus, as unfortunately December's Fridays are not good for us to do D&D. Next Saturday, however, sees the FBF pub quiz, with one round on Barry's and another round on Stardew Valley characters' likes and dislikes. I can't help but feel that Ben doing 2 Stardew Valley streams between now and next week when the quiz is might have some advantage at Stardew Valley characters' likes and dislikes. I don't know what it is that makes me think this, but yeah, might have been some wise choices on his part there. Geoff, who are we raiding into?
It's got to note that someone's starting up, so you might have to bear with me.
Okay, we're gonna stretch for time.
Stretch for a bit of time.
I
let them get online.
I don't know what to say to stretch for time.
Bear with me.
We'll be back next Sunday for some Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Oh, John, is it worth talking about events coming up that we may be at?
It might be, actually, because you and I... Oh, yeah. Let's say both of those things. I'm also going to try and snooze the ad break. Let's just see if I can snooze that for 12 whole minutes. 1. If you have food, share it in our Discord. If you have food. Hopefully you do have food. We want to see your food shared in the Bumbling Monk Tavern on the Discord, because we like looking at nice foods. I've just got a new cookbook, and I'm looking forward to cooking some stuff from it. D&D Heroes Feast, The Flavors of the Multiverse, the second official D&D cookbook.
I got the Basics with Babish cookbook recently. I've been trying a couple of recipes from that.
Yeah, we've seen some of those. They look good. Also, Geoff and I, if you happen to be in London at the start of December, Geoff and I are going to be at Dragon's Meet, which is a tabletop role-playing game specific convention. We are going to be in the podcast zone, where we will be discussing us and trying to get people to look at our stuff. We're going to have flyers and we're going to have business cards, and we are there with 16 other podcast people, including the very fun Backwater Bastards team, who we've been to MCM with previously, and we're hoping to make some other new friends while we're there, and maybe you'll see some of them on upcoming D&D or role-playing game one-shot things, because that's part of the fun, hopefully. How's it looking there, Geoff, with the raid? Because I'm running out of things.
Are you running out of things to say? Ooh. Nothing yet, I'm afraid. Might have to let this one go.
I mean, I could.
Have you got anyone for raids?
I mean, I can see one at the top of the list that is not normally online, but is online at this time of year. That you and I both support.
Bus? Is it? Oh, it's a desert
it's
bus.
It's a certain bus.
It's a certain bus in the desert.
Yeah, we could raid into them.
Let's raid into them then. Yep.
I don't remember if the official run of Desert Bus has started yet, or if this is just the tech test. But if it isn't already Desert Bus time, it is soon to be Desert Bus for Hope times. So we're going to send you guys over to Desert Bus, where they are playing Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors, the Desert Bus minigame, and will be for quite some time. We'll hope to see you guys again real soon. Tomorrow night, hopefully. But until then, go enjoy the Desert Bus. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.